Hey guys, it's Libby. Welcome back to my channel, or hi if you're new. Today I'm going to do my August 2018 wrap up. I read quite a few books this month. I read about 26, 27 books, and so this might be a long wrap up. So grab a snack, a drink, something, and hope you guys enjoy. The first couple books I read during Booktubeathon. So I read Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. This follows Leah, who is a side character in Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, and she comes to terms with herself, and she is a bisexual main character. She's also a plus size main character, so there's that. And she also plays a drum in a band that she has with some of her friends. So I really enjoyed this. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next I read was a couple manga. I read Blackbird Volume 1, and I gave that a 4 out of 5 stars as well. I don't know how to pronounce the author's name, so I will leave those linked down below for you guys, so you guys can go and check them out for yourself. They are very hard to describe what they're about, so I will leave the first volumes to that down below. I read Tegma Beach. I'm not sure if I'm still pronouncing this right, but I read the first 7 volumes of that, and I gave each of those a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I read Bloody Mary volumes 1 and 2, and I gave both of those a 4 out of 5 as well. And then I read Blackbird volume 2, and I gave that a 4 out of 5. The next novel I read was Love Life in the List by Casey West. I enjoyed this. This is about our main character named Abby, who gives herself a list to do so she can get better with her art and tell her best friend that she's in love with them. So I really enjoyed this one. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars as well. So I enjoyed it. The next book I actually listened to on audio, and that was Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. This is the second book to Daughter of Smoke and Bone. This is very hard to describe what it is about, so I will leave the books down below for you guys. But I enjoyed it. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. 4 out of 5 stars. So, yeah. It's about, I know it has to do with vampires. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. So, I will leave the first book down below so you guys can see what it's about for yourself. And, yeah. Then I read I Do Not Have With Me because it got returned to the library, but I will leave it linked down below. Until Friday Night by Abby Glines. I enjoyed that one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This involves our main character, Wes, who's popular football player in school, and then he falls for his best friend's cousin when she moves back in town, Maggie, after something happened to her in her life. So these books involve hard-hitting topics, so be warned going into them. And I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next 2 books were rereads for me because I was in the mood for a reread. So I reread Hemlock by Kathleen Peacock. This involves our main character Mackenzie, who lives in a world where they know that werewolves exist. And one of her best friend dies to a werewolf. So, and she's trying to figure out who that was. But little does she know it's someone who is living in her apartment building. And then she finds out later that her best friend's a werewolf, and also people she knows are werewolves, and they call it the Lupin syndrome. If you get bit by a werewolf or scratched by a werewolf, that's how you can get it, and that's what they call it. So I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I reread the second book, Thornhill, also by Kathleen Peacock, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars as well. I haven't reread the third book yet, but I will get to it eventually. Then I read, which I also don't have because it was returned back to the library, I read Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor, and that's the third and final book. I gave that a 4 out of 5 stars as well. Like I said, I'll leave all the books down below for you guys. I also read Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This one's about Audrey, who can't leave her house due to something happened to her at school, so she's homeschooled. And then she wears dark sunglasses to hide her eyes because she can't make small talk to people, and she can't do physical interaction, even with her own family, without the sunglasses on. So her therapist tells her to make a film, and she does. And then she meets one of her brother's friends, and he helps her through all of this. So then I listened to a novella, and that is Night of Cake and Puppets by Laini Taylor. I thought it was okay, so I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Really can't say much about that one because it involves 2 people that were in the trilogy. So next I listened to Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rashi. I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This is a girl who's heartbroken because she loses her mother, and she doesn't know who her father is, and she's a winter, and all winter's magic is gone in this, and she's trying to find out how she can get winter back to its rightful place. So I enjoyed it. 4 out of 5 stars. Can't wait to continue to the next second book. So then I read, which I don't have on me, the 4th book to the School for Good and Evil series by Simone Chinani. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, and I'm sorry about that. And I gave, and this is Quest for Glory, this is book 4, and I gave that a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. These follow a twist on fairy tales. The first book is 2 girls from the same village. They think they're going to one school, but they end up reversing, and the one who thought she was going to go for the school for good went to the school for evil, and the one who was going to the school for evil went to the school for good. So they just swapped places. I enjoyed it. It's fun, quirky, and yeah. The next book I read, I did not like, and that is Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare. I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I just don't like it. I will leave my review down below for you guys. It is a small one, but I will leave it down below. But I did not like it. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. Then I read a 3rd book that I thought I was going to like, but I didn't end up liking it. Surprise. And that book is Ozland by Wendy Spindle. I thought I was going to like this, but I didn't. This is the third book in the Everland trilogy. I did like Everland and Umberland a lot more than I liked this. I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars. This is supposed to follow Oz, the Wizard of Oz, but I did not see any representation of Ozland in this at all. So, I did not like it, so gave it a 2 stars. The next book I read was another Tessa Dare book, and I liked it better than the first one I read. I read The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. This is about our main character named Emma, who is a embroidery maker in her time, and then the Duke, he has a marriage, but it falls through, and then his ex-fiance never picked up or paid for the dress. So she goes over wearing the dress to his house, begging for the payment for the dress, and then he strikes her up a deal to make her his duchess, and she takes it, and the story falls from there. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay. And then a final book I read this month was, finally finished it, finally read it, really enjoyed it, Magus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, Ship of the Dead by Rick Riordan. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And I think this is the last book. I'm hoping it's not. But there has to be a book 4 the way this one ended. Really can't say much. But this, excuse me, this follows our main character, Mingus, who is a cousin to one of our previous beloved characters in the Percy Jackson series, Annabeth Chase. He recently discovers his father is a Norse god, and his story takes off from there. I really enjoyed this. 5 out of 5 stars. There has to be a fourth one the way this one ended. This cannot leave off how it left off. So, that was my August wrap up, but I am currently reading one book right now, and that book is, if I can get it, there it is. I am currently reading Under the Lights by Abby Glines. This is the second book in the Field Party series. This one follows, and they're all companion, but I would still read them in publication order. This one follows Willa, Gunnar, and Brady. We see Brady and Gunnar in the first one, but this one follows their story, and I'm almost halfway through. I started it last night, so I will probably finish this one today for September, but I'm enjoying it. These are hard-hitting topics, but I'm enjoying it. But that is all I read for August. Let me know down below what you guys read. I would love to know, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.